Back with you now on your Thursday. As President Trump's legal troubles continue to mount, his 2024 primary opponents, they're trying to figure out how to walk the fine line between criticizing Trump while still appealing to his supporters, his base. Hill reporter Julia Manchester has a new article digging into how Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the rest of the GOP candidates are navigating that potential minefield, especially with voters who think the case against the former president is purely political. Julia Manchester joins us now. Julia, Governor DeSantis and other Republican candidates, they're trying to navigate that balancing act, right? But where does a candidate even begin here? Because somehow they have to set themselves apart from Trump, but they also still very much need his loyal MAGA base to be on board if they have any shot of winning the primary. So where do you begin here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Marky. And you are seeing, all of these other candidates not named Donald Trump in the GOP field really walk this tightrope because they understand that it's a widely held belief among Republican primary voters, conservatives, that there is a double standard in how the Department of Justice has treated Republicans versus Democrats. And we often hear candidates like Ron DeSantis using Hunter Biden as an example, saying if Hunter Biden had an R next to his name, for example, or was the son of a Republican, he would be treated differently. And we don't really see, in terms of when they're addressing Donald Trump in particular, they're not addressing him, his issues on their own. They're being asked about it. So, for example, with, earlier this week with Ron DeSantis, he was asked about it at a press conference in South Carolina. Then later on CNN, former Vice President Mike Pence was asked about it by NewsNation's Elizabeth Vargas. So it's something that the news media is certainly asking them about because this is a former president who is running again. But I think they're trying to take a 20,000-foot view of this, talking about there's a double standard really and how Republicans versus Democrats are treated. But in terms of how they differentiate themselves, that's very difficult. I would say that Ron DeSantis in particular has talked about how he would reform the Justice Department and federal legal institutions, but it's a pretty difficult task.
And when you talk about DeSantis, any of the other GOP candidates who have come out and been very vocal against President Trump, is anybody having luck doing so, attacking him while also getting some of the base on board? I mean, are you seeing that with anybody have luck with this?
Not particularly. I would say the two biggest candidates we are seeing, attack Trump is obviously former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. We've seen Chris Christie poll better than Hutchinson in the polls. Chris Christie has pretty widespread name ID, but I've heard Christie's candidacy sort of described as a bit of a kamikaze mission. He is there to criticize Trump, to really take that anti-Trump lane, to be critical of him. But right now, he doesn't seem to be gaining as much traction as some of the others in the polls. And even for Ron DeSantis, who's polling in second, it's difficult for him because he is still polling so far behind Donald Trump. Now, a lot of DeSantis allies have pointed to a University of New Hampshire Survey Center poll that came out earlier this week that showed him gaining some traction in New Hampshire while Donald Trump was starting to slip in New Hampshire. That seems to be a bit of an outlier from what we've seen before in terms of the polls, but we're seeing them say, look, this is happening on the ground in an early primary stage.
Yeah. And we'll see if these tactics are resonating with viewers at all. I guess we'll see that in the polls. Julia Manchester, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.